So macro crests, where we focus on fundamentals for direction and technicals for entry. And we've had a very beautiful 2 weeks. From analysis, you can watch previous videos, but this is a new month. So this might be a little bit extensive, so this will be a little bit lengthy. I want to go through some things. So a quick one is, on Friday we had NFP data coming in very bad. Now it's not the NFP data of July that's actually bad, it's the revised data from May and June. So it's been revised to the downside. Okay, this a second please. Okay, it's been revised to the downside, and what we have here, it's, look at this is 73k, right? It's an average, but look at the revised data here. This is terrible. This is 14k, and if we take a little look at this average, what you get to see is let's zoom in. Look at the average here. So we are looking at 120, 140 around this area, but this went all the way to 14k, far low. So it's not good for the Dixie, but we'll sort that out very soon. Let's just take a look at some things I have. I have USD strong, right? Core inflation is still high, and that's what they're focused on. Growth is good, but then the NFP data came out, but the bias from the central bank is neutral to hawkish. That Wednesday by Powell, and they have a little bit of a sticky inflation. So this is the driver for it, which is sticky inflation, and we'll be having inflation data in the next 2 weeks. It's also a Forex risk off. So the trigger we have are weak data from weak labor data and trade slowing global growth, right? But we are good on that end. Tariffs is not much of a theme anymore. It's policies that are the main drivers for me, in my opinion. We have CAD, we have Euro, we have Pound, and the rest. So let's look at for the yen. They had their meeting, and they revised their the outlook, their inflation outlook, to the upside. I think I have some things here. Okay, let's just read this, then we'll get into that. So what we have here is pardon me, yeah, we have one of the key whether the rising inflation, rising wages and inflation, this will be one of the keys to them hiking interest rates. So they made mention of coming back into the hiking cycle. They've given us a time, so they are looking at probably October onwards. But if inflation and wages rises, then they will look into tightening, and that will be very good. So we will look at strength from the yen, and I don't know if it's already starting, but I have doubts. So you see they are slightly hawkish in terms of what they did, and the weakness they do have here is exports slow down and weak global sentiment. So the exports, of course, the dollar is actually hurting the yen exports, but that's what we've got. And then we can take a look at some articles. So the Bank of Japan pauses while hiking inflation. We have that, and also the data from from Powell. Where is that? A second. Okay, Powell should give us some. Powell gave us an idea. So he said we should not be looking at the NFP data. Where is it? We should not be looking at the NFP data, but we should rather be looking at unemployment rate. Okay, so if that's the case, what we would be looking out for most importantly would be employment. This will be looking at inflation, and we'll be looking at employment from before September. All right, and this should be for this month. Let's look at this. Let's just take a little look. So we'll be having inflation data on the 12th. Right, that's in the next 2 weeks. If it climbs, okay, we have one problem solved. Then we would have this core PCE also. So should this climb, it will actually dampen the effect of the NFP. And NFP is just one data. So the main focus we are looking at is not the NFP, is the labor data, the unemployment rate, and the average hourly earnings, which average hourly earnings is still at the range of 0.3, and then the unemployment rate is actually very low. Look at this, it's just been 4.1, 4.2, 4.1, 4.2, and that's good for the dollar. So going to the charts, not to bore you with fundamentals, going to the chart on Dixie, what I am having here is because the month is ended, looking at the monthly time frame. Look at this. So previous monthly candle is a bullish candle, but it's a bullish candle in a supply. It has the potential for shorts. But while looking at it, there was no supply here, but apart from this little supply that we have there, so it's not that interesting to me. So what I've got here is a demand, right? This demand was the demand for this month. Remember, we had a bullish candle, so this could be a possible push to the upside, but there is no trigger that's going to tell us, okay, they should hold, right? So I'm looking at that as liquidity, and here would be a more favorable push to the upside. That's for dollar strength, right? And if we look at the yen strength just a little bit, I might consider yen just a little bit strong. So if I consider yen to be a little bit strong, then let's focus with, let's start moving, looking at that. We'll come to the dollar also. The Swiss is strong, right? Comparing this, let me clear everything. Look at this on the monthly. What we do have is we'll be pushing to the upside. Oh, marvelous setup, right? You go to your weekly, and what I have seen here is very, very clear. Look at this. This is high, right? And this is a low. Price has pushed, and then we have this. Could this be a little pullback to continue, or could this be a push to the downside before it pushes to the upside? Now the yen is already telling us, okay, that we might have a little push to the downside, and we have this demand which might hold, which might not hold. So you just have to put that at the back of your mind, and then we can work with, if Swiss is strong but the yen is stronger than the Swiss, definitely the yen is strong. And if that's the case, I would work with currencies like the pound yen. Looking at this is very clear. Previous month was a bullish pin bar doji, okay, but the problem here is this, the imbalance was mitigated. So if this is coming down, I can't see anything here, right? So if there is nothing there, this would likely be a liquidity area. So about 300 pips to that area, looking at it from the weekly time frame. Yes, so I'm expecting price to head to that point. If you look at the daily structure, or you could say the 4 hours, but this is, if you see this, look at this. We have a high, a low, then we have this internal push, which so many of us expected a push to the upside, but now this I might consider a problem. So it's more, I'm looking at this short. This is a supply. That's where I'll look for my shorts from. So that will be the short for the GJ, and you could also look at of course EJ is strong. Sorry, Euro is strong, is very strong, but look at this, it's telling us it might be going to the downside. So NJ is has potentials to go to the downside. Beautiful, it has potentials, massive potentials. So this probably is a liquidity area, but that aside, going to the biggest boy, which is the dollar. Since we have dollar strength, we will be focused on NZD USD. So I already had these zones marked. This was a break of structure, right? And the candle of last month was massively a bearish candle in a downtrend. So we have this structure here. So this has grabbed this liquidity, filled this imbalance, perfect. So my short is anywhere from there. So those are my high this is my high probability setup for the month. I'll just be focused on this. Going to the weekly time frames, look at this. We have this tiny structure, which is actually the daily structure, right? And you can see we have a break of structure. At first we have this we had this liquidity grab at this supply here, right? So what we do have now is very clear. We have this break of structure also here. So this is a bearish leg. This was a bearish leg. So what are we expecting? A pullback to sell. So here I would not need confirmation, but this area definitely I'm gonna need confirmation. I'm gonna need confirmation in that zone, and that's for that. The next one I'm looking out for weakness. So is this, let me clear this. Okay, so GU, because of yen, the dollar strength and pound weakness, see, they'll be cutting their interest rates on the, is it the 8th or the 7th? Okay, let's just look at that. So they'll be cutting their interest rates, and I know of course so many retail traders are not looking at that because they don't trade fundamentals, but if you trade fundamentals, you see the market is pricing in an interest rate cut. Alright, so if you're looking at cuts, then you're looking at weakness. Probably after the cut, it might be a bullish cut, right? But the market is already pricing in weakness to the pound, and if the market is pricing in weakness, it means it will be selling till the event. Then we will have a push, a change in direction. And on the monthly time frame, if you look at this, it's still is equivalent to the same thing as that of the NZD. So we have this high on the weekly low, so this is a potential high which has broken structure on the lower time frame. So the only imbalance we have is this point here. Okay, so is that point we have there, is there an imbalance here? We have to check that out, but I don't think so. So if this zone doesn't hold, we would have a direct breakdown, but we won't be focused on that. The most important thing we'll be looking out for is where can we start selling from. Looking at it from the weekly time frame, we have our weekly supply, right? We have this weekly supply. We had a break of structure on this point, which we used in getting that order drop. It was a very beautiful trade regardless. It was very beautiful. So that was a short. Now this is the range I'm looking out for shorts, right? But in this range, I have the main supply up here. That's one. The next supply I have is this H4 supply, which in this case, this might this area is you have to use confirmation. So we might see some range, a lot of break of structures, but if you are taking it, you have to lower your risks. If I get price here and I see lower time frame confirmation, I will short. My first target would be this area. Before, if I see a break, then I can continue to the downside. But if price gets in here, it would be fantastic to take it to the downside. So that will be my view on the pound USD. Still on this weakness in the pound. Of course, Aussie is weak, but it has a breakout structure, right? But I like going for weak and strong, not strong. Of course, the USD is stronger than the Aussie far by far, but it's not giving me that. I don't have the feeling to take that. So I'll prefer going for the pound Swiss, which is a setup I called for last week and upper week. But unfortunately, price went higher than expected. But I still got in again. It stopped me out here. I broke structure. I got in again. I got in here, right? So and I re-entered. Still angry at this setup because I was supposed to make a whole lot from it. This was push, is a break, so it had to come. So that's why I always ask, if we have this structure here, is this going to be a little continuation, or it's going to be a full continuation that's going to grab liquidity and then it drops? And that was one of those scenarios. So that's why risk management is important. And for this reason, on Monday, if we have a little push, I'll look to short it before I see a deeper pullback, and I'll still continue shorting it again. Why? Because if you look at this, the Swiss is strong. Why is the Swiss strong? Because it is a safe haven. That's one, and it has so much trade surplus and fiscal strength. In as much as they might have a dovish easing and their inflation is low, everything is low, but it's the driver for it is actually strong. That's what we have for the Swiss. That's why I'm moving into the Swiss. And the next one might be the pound Aussie, because the Aussie is quite stronger than the pound. And if you look at this, the analysis I gave last week was price getting to our 4-hour supply zone, which was this area, of course, and it's mitigated the area and it has dropped, and we have this structure here. So on Monday, it won't be surprising if we see an instant drop from this, because this is the structure. So this was just pull back, and then we have this other end. So that's what I have for the pound, right? For the euro strength, of course euro is strong, but I can't trade the euro USD for short. No, of course I could actually do that, but I like volatility. If this will be my only short area, that's my only short area. We have breakup structures, but you could see this analysis is very clean, right? On the weekly we are bullish. On the weekly we are actually very bullish here. But what was previous, this is equivalently the same thing as the DXY, but inverted. So I'm looking at this pushing higher, and then I'll look for a short somewhere. So which the short is somewhere here, and I took this trade. It was a very beautiful trade. It went further than expected, but regardless. So I'll be focused now on euro strength. This is the euro NZD. Looking at it from a monthly time frame, this is bullish, and we had a previous candle. This is a bearish pin bar in a bullish leg. So if you look at it from the weekly, there was nothing in here for price to, no demand to push price. So that all this was liquidity build up. You go to your daily time frame, so the liquidity has been taken. We have this, we had this, and now we have this. Whoa. So what we are gonna expect, I'll be expecting a push here to continue to the upside. Now how is that going to be? I don't know, but I know on the 4 hours time frame I will be expecting a structure of some sort. Anyhow, we'll just be patient about it. If there's no structure, we don't bother ourselves. We have the euro card. Why am I looking at the euro card? Is because the euro is quite stronger than card. And look at this structure. That's a bullish movement, and the imbalance was mitigated. Going to the weekly time frame, the mitigation happened last week, which was I think on Friday. Let's take a look at that. Oh, it was Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday. So what I'll be expecting from this would be this. I'll consider this a high, and then this is the low. So this was this structure. A lot of people are looking to short. Yes, they might be right, they might be wrong, but it's not my problem. I'm focused on what I can do, and the demand here is this to push to the upside. Just that. Should it go lower, then of course I would look for continuations here. So that's what I would be looking out for. Euro card, Euro Aussie. So this was a setup I gave 3 weeks ago. Fortunately it tapped in last week, this week, sorry. We have this bullish candle with so much rejection, somehow like that. We go to our monthly, which is reacted from a demand. Go to our weekly, we are looking at price going higher, and that was the only zone. We have a bullish candle. For the daily time frame, what are we saying here? Nothing too much, but should we have a break here, right? So this would be fantastic. You just look to push price higher. It's just that simple for Euro Aussie. NZD, of course, NZD Swiss, NZD USD, but then the card is neutral to me. Consider the card neutral. So USD, right? The USD card, we would have a breakup structure. We've had this breakup structure, we had this zone holding. So if we are going to see a push here, okay, that would be a fantastic long. And there is this USD China. Been waiting for it, waiting and waiting. So based on dollar strength, we had a downtrend. So this was a downtrend. The final leg has been broken right to the upside. We have this demand. So I'm expecting this to happen, or worst case scenario is price coming lower and then I'll be longing. So this would be my target. This would be a target. We also have the USD MXN. So it just came into my radar due to Dixie's strength. Look at this on the monthly time frame. What we do have is price reacting from a monthly demand. Perfect setup. Reacting from a monthly demand. Where is our opposing area? Is this. That's where I expect price to head to. So on the weekly, this was the demand. Perfect. We had two areas of potential reversal. Going to the daily, you can see this is the area it's used, but on a good day, this is not my kind of setup. But regardless, it's an area of high fundamental value. And then we had this demand here, which was perfect for me because of breakout structure here. We had this breakout structure. So going to the 4 hours, this was why I was looking for longs, and it was perfect for me. It was perfect trade. So now what I'll be expecting is the market going to push higher and give us whatever it has to offer, or it's going to come lower and then we can look for longs from here. So but the second option will be the best, and that's what I'll be looking out for. Hey, Jesus is a lot.